Welcome back, my fellow dabbers. Today we're doing a video on something that, honestly, I don't really know why it's taken me so long to do a video on, because this is a device I use all of the time. Literally all of the time. All the time I use this. Here we are with the Puffco Peak Pro. Recently, Puffco had a firmware update for the Peak Pro, and I don't know if you've watched any of my other videos, but I am real big on companies that firmware update their stuff. Constant improvements is always a good thing. And we'll talk about one of the features they added to the Puffco Peak Pro in this newest firmware coming up. For starters, we're just going to go over some of the basics. The Peak Pro does come in a nice hard clamshell little box, so if you don't want to get a third-party case to keep it in, it comes in a nice carrying case already. Me personally, when I was at PuffCon, I got the Journey bag, which is a great carry option for the Peak Pro. I'm not going to go too much in depth with this because this is a video on the Peak Pro. I'm just going to say that there is a little compartment down here to keep your terps cool. Moving on from exciting bags, the Peak Pro. Starting from the top, stock, it comes with something called the Oculus cap, which is a simple unidirectional carb cap that is auto spinning. It has a little gap in the silicone here and a glass plug that's just fairly simple. Nothing too special about this. There are a lot of artists out there that make different glass plugs that are colored or maybe even have different airflow options. But out of the box, it does spin a 3mm pearl pretty well. I would use a 3mm pearl. I found that the 4mm is just a little too big and too much to move around in there. 2mm pearls are a little on the small side. 3mm are right on that sweet spot. And if you want to get something really fancy, there's one of my favorite artists on Instagram, Taco Dabs, makes this really cool turbine taco pearl. These are my favorite to use in the Peak Pro for sure. We'll get back to accessories in a little bit. Then after the Oculus cap, you have your jacket, which is just a little silicone sleeve that goes over the chamber. So when the chamber gets hot, it stops you from burning yourself. Next up, you have the chamber. It's pretty straightforward. They offer replacements from Puffco. So if it does break or go bad, or you do happen to wear it out, you can just replace this part. This version is called the 3D chamber that has heating on the sidewalls, which is different from their first iteration. It also has a bigger volume than their first iteration. Currently, the Puffco Guardian, which is the newest version of the Puffco Peak Pro that is readily available, comes with the 3D chamber standard. The version I have is called the Opal. It's just an all white version. So after the chamber, you have your glass top. To remove the glass top, you just grab the whole thing like this and push forward a little bit and it pops right out. That's one of the big things that I really enjoy about the Puffco ecosystem is the modularity, and that there are so many third-party glass artists out there that make different tops. And before we talk about some of the different tops, let's travel back to the base where it has a USB-C charger. A note about the USB-C charger, this is one of the highest points of failure for Puffco Peak Pros, so when you are plugging this in and out, be gentle and make sure that when you're setting it down or moving it around when it's plugged in, to not really bump or bend the USB-C port too much. Also, if you happen to deconstruct the Peak Pro, this is one of the parts that breaks the most. Just be very careful whenever you're dealing with the USB-C port on this device. Puffco does offer a wireless charging base for the Peak Pro, and it does charge on wireless charging pads. On the front of the Peak Pro, there's just a singular button. It does connect to an app, and as usual, we'll do a follow-up video with all the settings on the app. To go over the button pushes, one button cycles through what temperature you have it on. Once you choose what temperature profile you want it on, 2 button clicks turns it on. It'll vibrate, and then once it gets up to temperature, it will vibrate again. Push and hold the button. To stop it mid-session, it will vibrate and the lights will go off. 3 presses, 1, 2, 3, gets you your battery life. Red means dead, amber means medium of the road, and green means fully charged. Mine blinked red, so it needs some charging. The other button press that can be done is 4 presses, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that does is activates stealth mode. Because the Puffco Peak Pro has these wonderful LED lights, which are really fun to look at, sometimes it can be a little attention drawing. So if you want to turn those lights down, you just 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see it dims the lights down. We'll go ahead and turn those lights up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And last off, you just push and hold the button to do a full battery lock, and it blinks white like that and vibrates, and now no matter what you do to the button, it is powered down and locked. To unlock it, push and hold the power button, and it cycles back on. Now that we've gone over the buttons and everything like that, let's go ahead and reassemble the device. And since we're reassembling it, I'm going to go ahead and put it together in one of my favorite combinations, which is with a dry top. This is just a short stubby top that has no water like the stock one does, and leads to a very awesome experience. This is basically like a beefed up Proxy on steroids. After tons of time using the Pro, the Oculus cap is okay and it really makes it a hands-free situation. I quickly upgraded from the Oculus, which is fairly restrictive, to a ball cap like this from Paulson.pieces. This was a great experience that had a lot more airflow, but the problem was this wasn't just a practical piece to use on the go. Puffco does offer what's called the Pro ball cap. That's the same theory, but then it kind of takes the whole hands-free aspect away from the Puffco Pro, which is something I really liked, because you had to like stir the dab around to really get it to go. Then I moved on to another artist that I really enjoy, One Trick Pony. I loved his cap on my Proxy, so I knew I would love it on the Pro. And this here is the setup that I rock most often. Dry top with my One Trick Pony. I throw my taco dab spinner in there and I let it rip. This setup chucks clouds just for days and has so much flavor that I really have not gone back to using water with my Puffco Pro once I hit this setup. When I'm on the go and out of the house, what I'll do is instead of using my taco dab, I'll use a standard 3mm. And the only reason why I do that is because when I don't have an ISO dunk station, the taco dab spinner is a little hard to just Q-tip out. So with the 3mm, I can just run a quick Q-tip in there even when I'm on the go and don't have any ISO with me. Now that we've talked about the Puffco Pro, how it works and its different parts, let's go ahead and give it a go. To show more flexibility of the Puffco Pro, I'm going to go ahead and pop my dry top off and pop on this nifty top, which looks kind of funny, but it has a 14mm joint here. And what that allows me to do is take this glass whip adapter and use one of my Dynavap stems to make this an ultra lazy device with a whip. Throw a little bit in there, throw it on. We're going to do a single slow click to find the heat profile we want. I think I was on the one that I want, so we'll just cycle around. Once we get to the rainbow setting, we're going to go ahead and give a double click. And that double click is going to go ahead and heat up. It'll also vibrate, and it'll pulse color, signifying it's heating up. Once it gets up to temperature, it will double vibrate like it just did, and it'll no longer dim the lights. That's one of the great things about this setup, is you can just pull on the whip and take as many clouds as you want. Now, for one of the cool things that they added in the last firmware update. Before you start heating up, you pick your color profile. Once you're on the mode that you want, you're going to click the button 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to do that little pulse with a white through it, and that's going to be vapor intensity mode. It keeps the same temperature that your dab is at, but it changes the way that it heats it and makes a lot more clouds. And again, after you've taken your hit, you can just go ahead and turn the device off, making the Puffco a really easy way to just extend your dabs. The other thing that I really like about the Puffco is I feel like that when you use it, you get everything out of your dab, because you can always just check to see inside of the chamber and see if there's any dabs left in there. And if there is, you just run it again. And if there's not, you grab a Q-tip, swab it out, reload it, and you're ready to go. Stay tuned for my next video series on the Puffco Peak Pro, where we talk about the app and how to do a little bit more of a thorough cleaning. If you guys have any questions about any of the accessories or stuff that you've seen or want to know about the Puffco, feel free to hit me up in the comments, and as always, stay lifted.